Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. I am Veteran Crypto, aka Mike, and gonna jump into lesson two. Yesterday I posted on the channel, DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, as you can see, um, basically an introduction to basic terminology and what DeFi is and how it works. I get a lot of questions on a lot of in a lot of these chats about just really the basics of DeFi, and I've been doing videos, but you kind of have to guess, where to go to get the information. So I'm going to break them down into lessons, and then also in our new Discord. I like to joke with the guys over at Discover and in the basement because they haven't gotten used to us being part of the family yet, and so whenever they're talking about the Discord and everything, they always list off all their channels, and they always forget about us. I like to joke that we're the redheaded stepchildren. But, anyway, yeah, in the Discord, I started a library, and so I dropped my tracking sheets that I'm always showing on the show of, how to track your DeFi, how to, your ladder out strategy, for the bull run, all that sort of stuff. All of those I'm sharing for free in there. I got them for free. I tweaked them up and offering them to you guys for free. And it sounds like if you open an L bank account, then you can get the Discord for free. So you can pay $100 a month, or you can get an L bank account and get in there for free. So get in there, join us. We have a bunch of people starting to join in the DeFi channel, and we just share great pools that we find that are earning really good yield. So, I invite you all to join us in there. So, as you can see, make sure that you're following us on YouTube, DeFi Crypto Airdrop. We had a really good episode. Drew helped me out interviewing. I guess about a week ago. Not my cousin, my brother Taylor and his business partner. Taylor's a lawyer and deals with estate law, and also owns a title company. And then Jeff is a licensed financial advisor. And so we talked about, mitigating taxes, what you can do with your profits that you make, this bull run, ways you can diversify and lock in that value, a lot of stuff like that. So we're always trying to get, some people on that can give some alpha. And then right here's that episode, two that we're live right now. And here's episode one. Here's the DeFi Academy. So I'm just going to be listing all these out, all the different episodes. So if you have anybody, friends, family that's interested in learning about DeFi, happy to help them just like I've helped, a lot of you. So with that, let's jump right into it. So right now, won't get too deep into the markets. If you watch Discover Crypto and you watch Blockchain Basement, they go pretty deep. So there's really no need for me to waste time repeating what they've talked about. But markets are somewhat flat, which for those of us in DeFi is an awesome thing. Flat markets mean that things are ranging. So in DeFi, you're wanting to be within a certain range if you're in a ranged position. And the longer it can stay in that range and the tighter that range, the more that you're going to earn. And, there's other episodes that get into depth on that. But those of you that are in DeFi know what I'm talking about. So, flat markets, awesome. I have no issue with it. I know that the pump is coming eventually. I am more than happy to just keep stacking DeFi yield day in, day out, 24/7, 365. And I know a lot of you in the chat, Ellie, Twinkerbell, K Jam. It's a lot of you. I think Richard. I think you've got jumped in. K Jam's doing it. I know Jay is. Uh, Mr. Mark isn't in here, but Black Ice, my brother, he's also in the Discord. All of you are all stacking crypto and just always mentioning how much that you're earning, and that just makes all this worth it. That's what makes me keep doing this, is seeing that all of you are making money and just excited about this. So that's my motivation. As always, we got the my Oracle DeFi Llama. DeFi Llama is my go-to for analytics. I do not invest without facts, figures, logic. I do not look at social media. I don't care about emotions. I don't care if people think that something, even the stuff that I'm bullish on. I don't care if somebody thinks it's going to 100x. I look at fundamentals. I look at what are they building, who are they building it with, who's running that protocol or that project, I look at analytics. And as you can see here, I have the TVL or total value locked on all of DeFi, and I have the volume on all of DeFi. And you can see over the past couple days, I can zoom it in here. You can see over the past couple days we've been curving up. We're getting more TVL, so that's basically more liquidity being injected into the markets, and we're getting more volume. And anybody in DeFi understands the more volume there is, the more fees you're earning. That means there's more people swapping, there's more people doing leverage trading. There's more people moving liquidity. And we make money off of liquidity moving. So if you see good volumes and volumes on the increase, that means that things are going to start looking good. We're probably seeing some price appreciation, plus we're earning yield, and all of that yield that we earned in these sideways markets is going to go up as well. So just one way to stack bags with no better way to lower your average entry on your bags than earning free crypto. Everybody talks about, should I buy? Is this the low? Whenever things dip and, buy the dip and stuff like that. There's nothing dippier than free crypto. So get into DeFi and start earning free crypto. There is no better way to lower your average entry. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat before I get into to wallets. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. The more that you're at Twinkerbell, the more time that you're in DeFi, the easier it gets. 100%. And there's super easy ways to try out DeFi without getting into range positions and high risk positions. You can lend, you can stake. Both are very very safe. Everything has its risks, and the more risk there is, the more reward there is. But building out, and I've done a bunch of shows on this, building out a very safe, responsible portfolio like the one that I have. I'm very conservative. um, you can build a really good foundation that just earns you steady yield. You're not going to get rich quick overnight. Ellie mentioned this in the basement. Some people have that kind of gambling bug, and they want to get those quick gains, to get that endorphin rush. There's no better endorphin rush for me than just watching my DeFi portfolio grow and grow and grow, and just know that every morning I wake up, I'm going to have more money than I did when I went to bed. In trading, I never experienced that. And I'm not the best trader. I'm sure there's people that can do that, but it seemed like it was always I was up a bunch and then I was down a bunch, and I was up a bunch and I was down a bunch. I just like that steady growth. So another good platform is rwa.xyz. If you're into RWA or real world asset tokenization, this is a great one. And you can see here we've been doing nothing but up and to the right on RWAs. These are the things that make me so bullish on RWAs like Plume and Ondo, and other, even Algorand that is in RWAs. DeFi. If you look at how DeFi is growing, it's up and to the right. I mean, it's just, TVL, volumes, everything is just grow, 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 grow. You watch where big money's moving, it's all going into, because they're scared. People like me that have been, DeFi pilled, I have just enough money in my bank, my traditional bank account to pay my bills. That's it. Every other dollar that I have is in crypto and DeFi. If it's not in another investment. The reason being is, why am I going to keep my money or my liquidity in a bank account so that the bank can lend it out and earn yield, when I can just take it and over to DeFi and I can earn that yield? It's like, why am I going to make them rich when I can make myself rich? So they're scared. And that's why you see JP Morgan Chase and all these other big institutions getting into RWAs and DeFi, is because DeFi is here to stay. The floodgates are open, and they're rushing to try to corner that market before, and I guarantee you they're in DC, lobbying, for the laws that are being made and the regulation that are being made right now to ensure that they are positioned to be able to keep some sort of a hold on the control, of money and the earning. So I highly suggest you learn about this now and start earning now. While we're early, because once a lot of this regulation gets in, that's why a lot of us have to use VPNs and things like that to do a lot of the things we do in DeFi. Is they don't want governments and institutions don't want to lose their control. Money, they hunger for power and money, and they're not going to let it go. So I'll get off that soapbox because I can go down that rabbit hole. Me and Drew are very aligned when it comes to our love of government and that sort of thing. So this is I want to get into wallets. So using hot wallets and cold wallets. So first off, this is a ledger. Let's see. Here you go. This is my ledger. This is a cold wallet, basically a thumb drive. Those of you that aren't familiar. And this is the most secure way to store your crypto. And it is, air gapped. So basically, the only way that I can access my crypto is there's an encrypted key in here that basically proves that the crypto that's stored on the blockchain belongs to me. And so I have to physically connect this to a smartphone or a laptop to be able to give the blockchain permission to move my crypto, to stake it, to do whatever. So this is my access key. This is my Arculus. So I'm a huge fan of Arculus. It's more phone based, and anybody that hasn't used it, you just hold it to the back of the phone. Like, here's my phone. Basically, there's an app, and I can open the app. I just hold the card to the back. It reads it, and then I can do my transactions. I actually like it more than the Ledger, to be honest. So that's a cold wallet. Now, a hot wallet is, you can see here on my screen, is here's my Coinbase wallet, and here is my Stargazer wallet. And so those of you that are bullish on Constellation DAG, they are about to launch a DeFi platform, and the ticker is Swap, and they're about to do an airdrop. And so I've been mining, or airdrop farming this, and I have 453 PACA. That is going to give me an airdrop for this new Swap token. And so it's a really easy airdrop if you're interested. You can put your DAG in your Stargazer wallet. You come here each day, you just claim, and you just basically stack this free alpaca token or alpaca token, and you qualify. As soon as they do the airdrop, you'll qualify for the free airdrop. And who knows what it will be? It could be a couple $100, it could be a couple $1,000. You never know with airdrops. My boy Jeff, he's the one on Mondays and Saturdays over at the Blockchain Report that does our airdrop stuff, and he's hard at work, doing airdrop stuff for our community wallet that we're doing to show you guys that basically for free you can get airdrops, and then he's gonna basically give me the airdrops or access to the wallet, and I'm gonna DeFi it, and we're just gonna grow it this whole bull run and do a giveaway at the end. All right, so I let's go down to. I'm not going to get into how to set up a wallet. I mean, there's plenty of videos out there that will show you how to set up a wallet. But me personally, for DeFi, I like using my Coinbase wallet. It seems to be the most widely accepted for the platforms I like to use, especially on Base. So like Aerodrome, Moonwell, Morpho, Alien Base, all those different things. And also on Uniswap, and Ethereum based. So it's by far my favorite. Does it have its issues? It's still somewhat new, so it doesn't support all chains, but they're always adding new ones. Things like Sonic, like adding Sonic was a little bit weird on it, and it can be kind of confusing. But all of that aside, I like using my Coinbase wallet. So let's just start there. So this is my Coinbase account. So if I'm wanting to on base liquidity and get it into my wallet, so that I can invest, in DeFi. Let's do this. Then basically I can just go to Coinbase, use my card, use my bank account, and buy crypto. So I'm going to say that I want to move Avalanche. So let's go to, where are we at? Let's move some Avalanche over to my wallet. So where are we at? My assets. Oh, not Ondo. So Avalanche. Go over here, and I'm going to do send. And this is what's awesome about it is my wallet address isn't that mix of like numbers and letters and all that stuff. It's just basically my name, with the Coinbase ID. So I can just click on that, automatically connects to my wallet, shows how much, AVAX I have. And so let's just say I want to send $20. I'm just going to do this as to show you guys. So preview, I'm going to send $20 in AVAX. It's going to take 12 seconds roughly, and it's included. I have Coinbase One, so there's going to be no network fee. So I'm sending money for free. Send it now. I have to confirm it on my phone because I got two-factor identification. Here we go. Give it a little love. And boom, that's it. And it goes over to my wallet. So let's go and check it out. So I open up my wallet. We'll open up the big view. And we'll go to crypto. And there you go. You can see. Here's the AVAX. I had about $28 in there before. Now I have 48. So I mean, it was just that easy. I mean, that's what I love about Coinbase and the Coinbase wallet. Does Coinbase have its issues? Yes, absolutely. However, um, asking, a lot of those wallets are just insanity. So this is what I suggest if you're new to crypto is use Coinbase, and I am not affiliated with them. They're not paying me to say this. I do not accept any money for any information I give out, and if I ever do, I'll let you know. Um, However, this is the easiest way. Now, with this, I go to here. I go to Uniswap. This is where I have my Plume pools. I'll show those to you real quick. I am very, very bullish on Plume. You can see in the past 16 days on like 2,800 bucks, I've made almost 10%. I mean, here in the next day or two, I'll have made 10%. So I'm actually averaging about 15 to 20% return on investment on my Plume per month on a very wide range, 15 cents to 25 cents. So, it's, if you're not in DeFi, I don't know what to tell you. There's free money basically being given away, and you're not taking advantage of it. So, back to the wallets. You can see I'm connected. I'm going to disconnect real quick. All right. So you can see I'm disconnected. Now I'm going to show you how easy it is. Now that say I have that AVAX in that wallet, and say I want to add to my positions, I just hit connect, other wallets, Coinbase wallet. Ask me if I want to connect. It lets me know, that it's going to let them see my balance and activity. It will let it send you requests for transactions, but funds will not leave your wallet until you execute a transaction. This is important. You need to pay attention. When you go to these platforms, I have all of them saved to my favorites. I don't do search engines. I don't go on social media and click on links because people can impersonate Uniswap or they can impersonate Aerodrome. And by doing that, they can clone a site and make it look just like it and behave just like it. And as soon as you connect your wallet, They can have, a malicious code in there and they can drain your wallet. So make sure, double check up at the top. Make sure that you're at the right URL. Make sure you're on the right site. I can't stress this enough. So I'm going to connect because I know I'm on the right site, and boom, I'm connected. Just that easy. Now, this is a hot wallet. Cold wallets are a lot more complicated. Cold wallets is what I use to store crypto long term. So like Bitcoin, stable coins, if I'm not DeFiing them, or other long term projects, I'll put in cold storage. Otherwise, for the most part, I know it's not advised sometimes, but um, I prefer keeping all my DeFi stuff in hot wallets. I want to have easy access to it. It comes with risks, yes, but I have stuff spread around. Different wallets, different platforms. I'm diversified. So, um, other than that, I mean, it's DeFi is pretty simple. It's just a matter after that of finding a position that you like. As far as that's has good yield. That or has good APR, has good volume, has good TVL. All those things I'm always talking about. And then once you find that, then here we'll go to this one. It's just learning the platform, and I'll be doing some episodes, following this, talking about and I'll focus them on each platform. So like I'll start with like maybe Aerodrome or Uniswap, and just do a deep dive into how they work, how the fees work, um, the pluses, the minuses, the pros and cons of each individual site, the risks, and so I'll do one on each protocol. So then if any of you want to become very knowledgeable about each one, then then you can become a subject matter expert too. To be honest, in my travels, I'm and this isn't toot my own horn. I am very into Aerodrome. I'm probably the most knowledgeable when it comes to Aerodrome that I've run into. Not saying that I'm the most knowledgeable out there, but when it comes to how the Aerodrome platform works, how to figure out the next epoch, how the emissions are going to be distributed amongst the pools, using tools like Dune analytics, the flight school airdrop locks, using relays to, get the multiplier for the flight school, all of that stuff. That's all stuff that I'm teaching people that are in our little DeFi community. And, Ellie has been doing great on that. She's really been diving into those locks and doing a really good job. So, let's see what else we got. So basically, yeah, I mean, I just like say I want to get into this plume. I just come over here and just hit add liquidity, and this pops up, and it's my wallet's connected, so it shows like right now I have 83 plume and 31 USDC that I could put in here if I want. Is this my range position? Let me check. Yep, in range. So one thing to understand, whenever I add more liquidity, it's going to it usually automatically harvests, your profits, the yield that you've earned. So I'm not going to deposit this. Usually I'll harvest that first to make sure that I can, if I'm going to compound that back into the position, I'll harvest that before I put this dust in there, because it will add this dust. Because if I harvest that, that 200 and $30 or whatever I had in there, it will add it to this 83 plume and this 31 USDC, and then I just maximize what I'm compounding back in, which I'll probably do. I probably should have done it live here, but that's really it. As far as using wallets to interact with DeFi. Um, yeah, I covered connecting, reviewing. Whenever you add liquidity, it's just going to ask you. It's just going to have a bunch of pop-ups and just tell you like how much the fees are. Let's actually kind of start going through the process. So say I do this. So say I'm going to put this 83, this $14 or 83 plume in. this 14 USDC is what it's going to put in to match that because it has to put in an equal amount on Uniswap. And say that I want to add, it's going to say 83 plume 14. It's going to say the rate. It's going to give me all the the info, my new plume position. It's telling and it'll say this is what your new position will be, and then it will give me the network cost, and it's just so if I hit confirm, it's going to go in. I don't want to do that because I don't want to pay fees on 28 bucks going into my uh going into my position. I want to get that couple $100 in there, and it's really just that simple. And you've opened a position now, and you're in DeFi. It's really that simple. Aerodrome. We can go to Aerodrome. Those of you not familiar, same thing. It's gonna pop up here in the top right hand corner. Connect, Coinbase. Same thing. It's gonna let it see my wallet, but it's not gonna be able to move any liquidity unless I approve it separately. Connect again. This is something that I have saved to my favorites, so I know that it's there. Um, and then my wallet's connected, and I can go to the dashboard and see, the one position that I have on here. I have other Aerodrome positions, but they're in my VFAT, which is a DeFi aggregator. Something I'll get into in future episodes in this series. But you can go to liquidity, and you can see, all of the different, liquidity pools that you can get into. You can sort, by volume, by how much fees they're earning. So this wrapped ETH USDC, this is one of my best earning positions. And the reason is because of the volume. It has $430 million worth of volume in the past week. That's huge. It's paying out $172,500 in fees. So I'll show you that position. So this is that wrapped ETH USDC position. I have about 4,200 bucks in there, and in the past day, yeah, about the past day, I've earned 46 bucks. So I'm earning about $50 a day on this $4,200 position. And right now, it's earning me 213% APR. You can set a narrower range and get a higher APR, but again, I like nice wide positions, especially if I'm expecting volatility like I am with the ETH. Um, but that's pretty much it. Testing transactions using the Coinbase wallet. That's why I love it so much. You don't need to really do test transactions. If you're going to use MetaMask or anything like that, I highly suggest that you send a small amount of crypto. Like if you're moving it from Coinbase to your wallet, or from your wallet to an exchange, or sending it to somebody, just send a couple of dollars first, just to make sure you got the address right. Because I've done it. Anybody that's been in crypto more than a day has done it. You go to send some crypto, it never shows up, and you copy and pasted the address wrong. That's why I hate rings of numbers, or the usual wallet address. That's why I like that Coinbase one. Is it's just my name dot cb dot id. I know it's mine, so it kind of gets rid of that. Security and best practices. Keep your private keys and your seed phrases. When you make these wallets, it's going to give you a seed phrase. Make sure that you write that down, and make sure that you put it in a safe place. I have a big old monster safe that I keep my guns in, my gold and my silver, and I have a little book, my little black book that has all my seed phrases in it. Anybody that thinks that they can come take it from me, come on. Be like Christmas for me. Um, Phishing, only connect to trusted sites, and decentralized applications, and make sure that you go into your wallet. Actually, we'll do this. We'll do that real quick. So you can go in your wallet, like your Coinbase wallet. go to settings. You can come here and go to connected dApps, and it will show you everything you're connected to. You can hit disconnect all. I highly suggest you do this on a regular basis because even if you disconnect on the site, your wallet is still connected to it. So if that protocol gets hacked, potentially the hackers can get into your wallet. It could, because you're still connected and you've given permissions. So make sure you get in the habit on a regular basis, not just disconnecting from the site, but disconnecting do a hard disconnect in your wallet. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I won't keep you guys all day. Let me go through and see if there's any questions in the chat. Let's see. Hell yeah, Ellie. Smash them likes if you like passive income. Make sure you're following us because yeah, there's not a whole lot of people out there teaching this DeFi. There's one of my favorites is Crypto Labs Research and us. I really don't know any other kind of user friendly or people that are new to crypto. There's one called like DeFi Dojo, but they're super high level. Like the stuff they talk about, like half the time I have to watch multiple times just to understand what they're talking about. And they're using like super degen platforms and which is a lot higher risk in my opinion. But Crypto Labs Research is really good with trying to keep it simple. They have some higher level strategies and things like that, and I'm still learning from them. But those of us here on this channel, I try to keep this super simple for people that are new to crypto, new to DeFi. Um, Absolutely. Yeah, the more time and tries, the easier it gets. The more familiar you get with the process, the easier it gets. Jay, my boy, has yep, at least try it out. Can't argue with money making more money. Not at all, not at all. Alexander G, I appreciate all your help and sharing all my posts and trying to help out with the channel. I appreciate you. Arculus and Tangems or Tandem. Tangems? Yeah, Tangent. I haven't used Tangent or Tangent or whatever it's called. Arculus I like a lot. Hey, Deadwood. Hey, man, I appreciate you stopping in even though you're on the road. Yeah, Nate, pretty much all the wallets have room to improve, but Coinbase just seems to be the one that's the most user friendly, especially people that are new to crypto and especially new to DeFi. So, kind of my go-to. Victor, I have 10K worth of Arrow. I want to do DeFi with 80 or 90% of my stash. Your stash? Shit. we're, we're like talking, we talking weed or we talking crypto? Um, is this too risky? What are the risks? All right. So it depends on what DeFi play you do. So when it comes to DeFi, your best bet is staking, um, or potentially locking on Aerodrome, depending on how long that you want to lock it. Staking is very safe as well. It just depends on how much access you want to have to that, because sometimes there's locking periods, things like that. Lending is a very safe first step in DeFi. Reason being is you can enter and exit those positions relatively easily, and really the only risk is the protocol itself. So like if you're lending out on Aave or something like that, the only risk is the protocol getting hacked, Aave getting hacked or something like that, or the whole protocol going down, getting rugged by the protocol basically. That's really your only your only risks. And then of course you can earn more by getting into full range positions, liquidity positions, things like that, but there's added risks. And then there's range positions, where you can earn a lot more but the narrower the range, the more the risks, with impermanent loss and things like that. So I would suggest, not financial advice, but what I am doing is I'll show you actually. Yeah, here it is. Let's share this. Let's bring this over here. So this is a lot of my positions. So you can see right now I have about 2,500 bucks, or excuse me, 25,000 bucks. I hope not 2,500 bucks in all of my DeFi positions. And again, I have some other ones, but this is the ones that are the most that I'm messing with the most. So you can see that the different daily, monthly, and this is one of the sheets that I'm offering for free in the Discord. If you start an L Bank account, get access to the new Discord. This is one of the three sheets that I have in there for free. So if you're interested in this, by all means, go in there. But you basically can just put in, what pool you're in, when you entered it, what your initial deposit was. You just update this, whenever you want to. I haven't updated it in a day or two. And then how many fees you've earned, and what the current APR is, and then it will auto calculate all this stuff. How much daily yield you're earning, APR, monthly, yearly, all of that stuff. And you have to do this when it comes to DeFi. You have to do this. You have to track your positions. Otherwise, you don't know if you're making money or not. You could be, bleeding or hemorrhaging money, and you don't know. So, it's important that you use these tools. Um, but let's see. So the ones that you can see, the ones that are treating me the best, this arrow lock by far. I've over doubled, almost tripled my initial investment of $2,500. And just by using those arrow locks. And as long as you're bullish on arrow long term, I max locked for 4 years about 6 months ago, and I'm earning uh so far 46% yearly APR, and it's compounding weekly. Every Wednesday, the arrow locks pay out. That's when they pay out the yield. And it's from fees from the platform. And those of us that have VE Arrow and those locks get paid out weekly. And so that goes in and that adds to my total amount. I have just over 10,000 Arrow in my all my locks right now with all that I've earned. And starting out with $2,500, I'm going to have or it was 5,100 Arrow at the time. I'm going to have 75,000 Arrow when the unlock happens. What that arrow is going to be worth, who knows? But for a good round number, for easy math, if arrow is worth $10, which it's already gotten up to $2.20 this bull run already. Now I think next bull run, if arrow's still around, I think it easily could reach $10. It might do it this bull run. And if it reaches that, if it's at that $10 next bull run, when I get that 75,000 arrow out, it's going to be worth $750,000. So off a $2,500 investment over 4 years, I'll potentially have $750,000 if arrow is at a $10 price point. If it's $30, do the math. I'm getting into the $2 million range. So this is DeFi, is having a long-term mindset. And yeah, I have shorter term plays. I'm making about $1,500 a month right now. So far this month. That's by the end of the month, I'm tracking to make about 1,500 bucks because the markets have been a little bit slow. But I'm making about $1,500 a month off of $25,000, and that I can spend. I can cash that out and I can spend it, but I'm looping it back into my DeFi to grow my DeFi portfolio. Because and once things start pumping, I have this tracking sheet again that I've shared in the Discord. That's my bull run bag and my ladder out strategy. So it shows over here. It shows my how my portfolio is spread out. Super heavy on Casper. I could probably fix that, but I'm very bullish on that project. I got DAG, Arrow, Ondo, Plume, Link, and some other ones. But that's for the most part, most of my portfolio. But I have, at what price point I am going to be taking out and what percentage of my tokens I'm going to be selling. Again, this all auto calculates. Go into the Discord, download it, use it, modify it, do whatever you want with it. I would love to see some of you that are really smart with these Excel spreadsheets. If you get a hold of it and you can do some sexy stuff with it and then like share it back to the community, that would be freaking awesome. I would love to see somebody just go fucking wild with this thing. But you can see it auto calculates, if I hit all of my targets, I'll have $177,000, $177,500 in Casper, and I factored in hodling 10%. But if I hit all of my targets, I'll have $581,000. So that's if I hit all my targets. Which, again, as I'm laddering out, I'm going to be putting it into stable coins, and I'm going to be putting it into Bitcoin until I hopefully have $581,000 in stable coins and Bitcoin. And I'm just going to wait to see if the markets crash. Of course, I'm going to have my stable coins earning 5, 10, 20, 30%, APR in different DeFi plays. So I'm still stacking. But when the markets crash, because I'm in stable coins, I'm not round tripping my bags. Markets crash, I still have, $581,000. Well, anybody that's still holding crypto is going to go down in value. I'm going to be locked in. And as the markets are dropping, if we start getting to a point to where I feel like we're getting back towards the bottom, then all of that, $581,000 plus the yield I'm earning off of those stable coins, I'll start using that to DCA back into things like Plume or DAG or Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever I want to stack bags on, during that bear market. And I'll be putting those into DeFi and earning yield on those. So you can see how all of this compounds to where, I started out with $15,000 in my DeFi portfolio. Even with this huge dump we took, I'm at 25,000. If we go back up, I did the math and I shared it the other day. If we go back up, if Arrow goes back up to $2.20 and these other projects go back up to, their local highs that we've already experienced this bull run, just back up to where they were already at, I'm going to have about $75,000 just in my DeFi portfolio. And I started with 15,000. If that doesn't make you bullish on DeFi, you're in the wrong place. It's yeah, go ahead, go and chase a meme coin. Try to, do, hillbilly TA and, trade and, make that kind of money. I'm not saying, don't go do those things, but me personally, I would rather do DeFi to where I can slowly, and I use that term loosely, but I can slowly grow my portfolio and I can slowly earn yield. Because if I earn slow, I lose slow. If you earn fast, you lose fast. In meme coins, yeah, it can, you know, pump hard and you can have a couple $1,000,000 and you just hold on a little too long and next thing you know, it goes to zero. It gets rugged. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing crypto. Keep your emotions in check. You know, play with a little bit of your liquidity. If you want to throw a couple $100 in a meme coin, absolutely. Have fun. But do not, do not put all of your money into meme coins. So with that, I appreciate you all. Let me check if there's any more questions before we go. When Arrow USDC lock is submitted, let's see this. And the max VE Arrow 4-year position is open. Can I add to that position? No. Once you do a lock, you can't add to it. You can open another lock, you can't add to that lock. Let me double check they haven't changed that real quick. And there's really no reason to add to the position, to be honest, Stan. I would just save up until you have 2,500 arrow and open a new position so that you can get a new flight school bonus. So I would not add to any lock, even if you can. I would suggest that you just save up till you have 2,500 arrow and just do a fresh lock and and like I said, get another airdrop bonus, or flight school bonus. That would be my suggestion. So, um, yeah, it doesn't look like they've changed that, and again, I would not suggest doing that just for that reason that I just stated. Yeah, it looks like Ellie answered it. Yeah, Nate, always do test sends. It is good practice. Like I said, if it, I would have done a test send on that one that I just did if it wasn't the Coinbase wallet. But again, Coinbase wallet is just super user friendly. Ellie, if you want that flight school bonus, be sure to deposit, yes, at least 2,500 because you can't add to a lock. Yeah, she learned the hard way, and I appreciate you being so open about that, Ellie, and sharing your experience with that. That's what this community is all about. Sharing our mistakes so that other people don't make those. Um, I have a very great tutorial on Aerodrome DeFi. Yes, I did one. I need to do an updated one. I did one when I first got into DeFi. Drew had me on, and I talked about it. But I will be doing another updated one, just because of some of the changes to the Aerodrome platform. Again, I'm probably too knowledgeable about the Aerodrome platform. And again, I'm not tooting my own horn. It's just I spend a lot of time learning about Aerodrome and Uniswap because they're the two major ones I use because that's where all the volume is. If you look on DeFi Llama, it's where all the llama. It's where all the llama is. It's where all the liquidity is. Um, let's see. Weird. I have no problem increasing locks. Let's see. I have no problem increasing locks. Can't do it until the epoch is over, though. Really? Do you have your locks in a relay? Because I'm not seeing any way I can withdraw my lock. Yeah. I mean, I don't see how I can add to it. Now you can add to your liquidity position if you're in a liquidity pool, 100%. Um, so if I come to the dashboard and I want to deposit, right here, in a liquidity pool, then yes, I can deposit more liquidity on a liquidity pool, but I don't, and I could be wrong, but I haven't ever seen a way to add to a lock. But yes, you can add to a liquidity pool. Balco. Last Wednesday, I was paid my arrow, but it didn't automatically reinvest. Um, And was that on a liquidity pool or on a lock? Because on a liquidity pool, it won't. So it doesn't compound. You got to understand the difference. The liquidity pools, they're just going to build up these emissions, and you can claim those. So now I can claim them, and I can manually put them back in, or I can use VFAT. Like these are aerodrome positions, but I have them on VFAT. I can auto compound. I can set these to auto compound, so I can come here and do auto comp automatically. But on aerodrome itself, and then redeposit. Now on the locks, it every week it pays out, and that auto compounds. Like I said, this was 5,100. arrow when I started, and now it's 6,641. It auto compounds in here. So again, it's important to know the difference between the two. Well, they compound, but I don't think you can actually put arrow in a lock, Richard. That is my understanding too, Jay. And again, that's just my experience. I'm always checking to make sure that they don't make changes to the platform. They're always updating, doing different things. But I'm pretty sure that the difference is that they're maybe mistaking the liquidity pools for the locks. The locks are totally different. Even with flight school, yes. So the flight school, so you can see this is my initial position that I deposited the 5100 arrow. This is a separate lock that's my flight school bonus. And that was 2600 arrow. You can see that I've earned 720 arrow on that one, which added to my 2600, which brings me to the 3335. This was 5100. I've earned 1,536. That has compounded each week to give me a grand total of 6,641. So it's auto compounding every week until, of course, I withdraw the lock. And, obviously, if it's not, if it unlocks, after 4 years, then it's going to stop auto compounding. Now, if you don't have it in a relay, if you just have it sitting up here in your locks, every week you have to go in here and you have to vote. If you don't vote, you will not get the VE arrow. You will not get the weekly payout. That is why I always tell people, when you create a lock, make sure you come in and you lock it in this VE arrow maxi and just this VE arrow maxi relay. Reason being, you get a multiplier. So when you get the flight school airdrop, you'll get a 1.3x multiplier, which means you'll get a larger flight school airdrop. So if you lock 2,500 arrow or more in a lock, deposit that lock into this, they will automatically vote for you. You are delegating your lock to them. They will vote for you each week, so you don't have to worry about it. I haven't done anything other than locking that initial 5,100 arrow and depositing it into this relay. I haven't done anything to be to get this earning. It never goes out of range. There's zero maintenance on this. This is a great long-term play on arrow if you're bullish on arrow. You can lock for a lot of different frames. So create a lock. You can do it for as short as 7 days if you want. You're not going to get as much VE arrow, but you're going to get a much smaller percentage. But you can just lock it for 7 days. You can lock it for 2 months, 3 months, however long you want, to a max of 4 years. I max locked mine. So say that I put in 147 arrow. If I put in for 7 days, then I'm only going to earn zero point 0.7 arrow or 48 cents. If I do for 4 years, I'm going to earn 146 arrow. And current value would be $100. Of course, if the price goes up, then that value goes up. But you can see, it depends on how long you lock it. That's going to determine how much VE arrow that you earn over that time frame. I hope that makes sense. Yes, Jay, 100%. Just like I went over, you get a separate lock for your flight school bonus. And that plays into what we were just talking about. Because you can't add to an existing lock. They had to create a new lock because they can't add to your existing lock. So, yes, Alexandra G, that is the Discord. Thank you for posting that. Anybody that's interested, go start an L Bank account, join the Discord, and you'll get a free membership, and come in there and join the community. Again, these tracking sheets that I'm sharing, The community, when we find pools, good earning liquidity pools, we're sharing them in there. I'm in there 24/7. I have my phone with me all the time. I have Discord pulled up and I get notifications. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me on X, reach out to me in the Discord. Wednesday's payday, absolutely. Aerodrome is so bullish, they're getting more bullish. Yes. Just look at the volumes. Look at the TVL, look at the volumes. Aerodrome is in a lot of ways blowing Uniswap out of the water. When it comes to Bitcoin, the volumes and the Bitcoin liquidity pools and the Ethereum liquidity pools, Aerodrome is killing it. Ricardo, I deposited 2,500 twice, so it should be locking up automatically. So if you deposited 2,500 Arrow in two separate locks and locked it, then you should be getting two separate flight school bonuses. So you should end up with 4 locks. Once sometimes it'll take like 30 days to get that flight school bonus, but again, make sure that you take those 2 locks if they're not liquidity pools, if you're not mistaking that. If you put those into locks, make sure that you put those in that VE Arrow Maxi relay. So you get that 1.3x multiplier, on your flight school bonus. So you just get more free Arrow. Can't stress that enough. You have to go through the process of locking it, Richard, and definitely recommend, yes, the VE Arrow Maxi relay. Oh, shit. Oh, dude, no way. Just realized the fee dropped you below 2,500. Create lock. It shouldn't it shouldn't have taken the fee out of your deposit. It should have taken it out of your wallet. I'm sorry to hear that, man. If that happened, but yeah, do a little bit extra. Do 2,505 or something, but it shouldn't take it out of the deposited amount. It should take it separately, um, out of your ETH on base is what it usually uses as gas. Let's see. Da, da, da. I Falco 100%. I think people are confusing locks and the locks and the relays and the and the liquidity pools. If you're hitting this tab up here, it says liquidity, or you're in the dashboard, those are liquidity pools. You have to be under this lock to be dealing with locks and relays. I mean, you can see it says locks, it says relays. And create lock, if these locks weren't in a relay, they would be up here under locks. Because I have deposited my locks into this VE Aero Maxi relay, they now fall under there. It's really important that you watch the videos and that you understand these differences, because it can cost you money. It's so important. Don't just FOMO into these things. Make sure you understand how they work before you jump into them. So with that, what kind of ETH? Base ETH or mainnet ETH? On Aerodrome. Aerodrome is base ETH. That's why I love Aerodrome so much. The fees are much lower. And actually, I'm glad you bring that up. This is the last thing I'm going to cover before I go. So on Uniswap is a good example. So on Uniswap, you can see that the pools, this is important to watch. When you are looking at these pools, like this one here is on the Uni chain. Come on, you can do it. You can see like down here in the bottom right hand corner, there's the the little Uniswap symbol. That means that half of this is ETH and half of it is the wrap staked ETH. That is the two assets that are in the pool. But down here in the bottom right, that tells you what chain it's on. So that's the determines the fees that you're going to be paying. So if we go back out here and you go here, this one, because it doesn't have that, it's going to be on ETH mainnet. So the fees are going to, to be, the GUI or the gas fees are going to be however busy the ETH mainnet is at that time. I'm not a huge fan, unfortunately, my Plume pools, because it's the only place that I found to DeFi Plume, is on ETH mainnet. And that's why you see that I had, like $240 in fees that I had earned just building up in there. I don't want to spend like $5 or $10 to claim, 20 or $30. I'm killing myself in fees. So you have to understand these things in DeFi is, understand what chain the pool is on so that when you're taking fees and, making these transactions to pay. So yeah. So, and I'll get into that. I'll get it. Maybe I'll do an episode on fees, but I don't want to drag this out too much. I appreciate you all for coming and learning with me. Ellie, Twinkerbell, Alexandra G, Falco, dude. I appreciate Richard. I appreciate all your guys' input. These questions that you're asking. I please don't take it that I'm like calling you out and trying to make you look silly or anything like that. You could be right. Maybe you found a way to add to your lock, but it's just not something that I've found so far. I'll do some more research and see if they've changed that. But I appreciate you bringing these things up because that's what's important about this community is we need to share, our experiences so that other people can learn. Like, my mistakes. I've made a bunch of mistakes and I've shared them with the community. So please do not be scared to share experiences. Ellie, she's great. How she shared her experience with she didn't lock enough in her first lock and it was, just under the threshold. And so she didn't get the flight school bonus for that. But she did a new lock and she got the flight school bonus. So, hats off to her and I applaud her for, getting back in there. Jay, appreciate you. Stan, who else we got in here? We had the Deadwood was in here for a minute. Nick Dunn, appreciate you. Nate, Granny's Garden, over there, I believe in the UK. Victor, I think that's everybody. Black Ice, K Jam. So till next time, Veteran Crypto out.